My friends, let me ask you a question. Have you ever gone to bed with your mind racing, thinking about bills, debts, or dreams that feel so far away? We lie down, close our eyes, but instead of rest, our mind is filled with worries. And what happens? We wake up with the same fears, the same limitations. But imagine this. What if, while your body sleeps, your mind begins to create wealth for you? What if your nights, those 6 to 8 quiet hours, became the most powerful investment of your life? Because here's the truth. Your subconscious mind never sleeps. It works day and night, recording, replaying, creating, and when you feed it the right thoughts before you close your eyes, it begins to shape your reality while you dream. Think about it. Every invention, every empire, every breakthrough in human history started as a thought planted in the mind. Thomas Edison once said he often solved problems in his sleep. Nikola Tesla claimed that visions of his greatest ideas came in dreamlike states. Why not you? Tonight, I want to give you a meditation, a ritual, not of silence, but of intention. Here's how it works. Before you close your eyes, you take one deep breath and whisper to yourself, I am worthy of wealth. I am open to abundance. Money flows to me with ease. Say it slowly. Say it like you mean it. Not once, not twice, but until your body feels the truth of those words. Then picture it, not just numbers in a bank account. See yourself living free. See the home you desire. See the generosity in your hands when you help others. Feel the joy of receiving and the joy of giving. And then let go. Sleep, because the seed is planted. And when you wake up, your actions, your decisions, your energy, they will all align with what you planned the night before. Some may ask, can it really be that simple? And I answer with this. Is it any simple to plant a seed and watch a tree grow? You don't dig it up every morning to check. You trust. You water it. And one day, you enjoy the shade and the fruit. Your wealth is no different. Meditation is the planting. Belief is the water. Action is the sunshine. And as you repeat this night after night, you begin to notice something. Opportunities appear. Ideas flow. Confidence grows. And suddenly, you are not chasing money. Money is chasing you. Let me share something real. A friend of mine used this very practice. She went to bed every night repeating, I am worthy. I am wealthy. I attract opportunities. Within months, she found herself in conversations she never expected, meeting people who opened doors, starting projects she once thought impossible. She didn't just make money. She became abundant in every sense: relationships, confidence, health. You see, wealth isn't only paper. Wealth is energy. Wealth is mindset. Wealth is freedom. And it begins not when the sun rises, but when you close your eyes to hear some key points related to this. Your subconscious mind is always active, even while you sleep. Nighttime meditation can reprogram your mind to attract wealth. Repeating affirmations like, I am worthy of wealth, before sleep plants seeds of abundance. Visualizing your desired lifestyle deepens the effect of meditation. Wealth creation is like planting a seed. It requires trust, belief, and consistent nurturing. By practicing this nightly, you align your energy, actions, and mindset with abundance. Have you ever wondered what really happens when you close your eyes at night? The body rests, the muscles loosen, the heart slows down, and you sink into stillness. But the truth is, a part of you never rests. The subconscious mind never sleeps. It's always alive, always working, always recording, like a hidden engine running quietly in the background of your life. Imagine your mind as a vast theater. On stage, under the bright lights, you have your conscious thoughts, the worries about tomorrow's meeting, the bills on the table, the dreams you hope will come true. This is the part of you that feels awake, alert, in control. But behind the curtain, in the shadows where no spotlight shines, sits your subconscious mind, directing the play even when the actors think they are free. Think of it this way. Have you ever had a dream so vivid that you woke up believing it was real? You could smell the rain, hear the voices, feel the touch of someone long gone. That's your subconscious at work, weaving tapestries out of your memories, your beliefs, your fears, and your desires. It doesn't stop because you're asleep. In fact, while you sleep, it becomes even more powerful. Without the noise of your conscious thoughts, the subconscious takes center stage. It processes the day. It makes connections you didn't see. It replays patterns that have been living in you for years. That's why some people wake up with solutions to problems they struggle with all week. Albert Einstein once said he would sleep with a notebook by his bed because so many answers came to him in that in-between state, where logic had loosened its grip and imagination was free to wander. Let me paint a picture. Imagine a farmer standing in his field at sunset. He places seeds into the earth. He covers them gently, waters them, and walks away. At night, when the farmer rests in his bed, what happens beneath the soil? The seeds crack open. Tiny roots reach down. Shoots push upward, searching for light. All of this happens in silence, in darkness, without the farmer's awareness. The subconscious is that soil. Every thought you allow in before you sleep is a seed. Every worry is a seed. Every belief is a seed. Every affirmation is a seed. And while you sleep, those seeds take root. They don't ask permission. They don't knock on your door. They simply grow into whatever you planted, whether it was fear or faith. Consider this. How often do we go to bed replaying the mistakes of the day? We lie there whispering to ourselves, I can't believe I said that, or I'll never get ahead, or I'm so tired of struggling. And then we wonder why the next morning feels heavy, why the same problems meet us at the door. It's because those statements, repeated in the quiet moments before sleep, slip past the conscious mind and sink into the subconscious like stones sinking into a riverbed. They stay there, influencing the current, shaping the flow, long after we've forgotten we even said them. But the reverse is also true. If you plant abundance, worthiness, gratitude, those seeds too will take root. Dr. Joseph Murphy, in his classic work The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, said, as you sow in your subconscious mind, so shall you reap in your body and environment. He wasn't speaking in metaphor alone. Science now shows that the brain doesn't distinguish strongly between imagined experiences and real ones. Athletes who visualize practicing a skill at night often see measurable improvement, even if they never left their bed. Their subconscious rehearses the movements, strengthens neural pathways, prepares the body for success. Now imagine applying that to wealth, to abundance, to opportunities. Imagine going to sleep each night whispering, I am open to prosperity. Money flows easily to me. I am worthy of financial freedom. At first, your conscious mind may laugh. It may scoff, saying, that's not true. Look at my bank account. But remember, your conscious mind is not the one we're speaking to. The subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't reason. It accepts. And once it accepts, it begins to create. Think of the subconscious as a gardener who never questions what you hand them. If you give them weeds, they plant weeds. If you give them flowers, they plant flowers. If you give them poison, they plant poison. The gardener doesn't say, wait, are you sure you want this? It simply obeys. That's why nighttime is so critical. Because in those last few moments before sleep, your conscious guard lowers. The gate to the garden opens wide. And whatever you whisper in that moment goes directly into the soil of your mind. I once knew a man who struggled with money all his life. Every night before bed, he would sit at the edge of his mattress and count his worries instead of sheep. He would mutter, life is hard. Nothing ever works for me. I'll never be rich. And what do you think his subconscious did? It took those phrases as instructions. It shaped his choices, blinded him to opportunities, attracted people and situations that confirmed his belief. His life became the mirror of his nightly whispers. But years later, when he learned about the power of the subconscious, he changed his ritual. Instead of muttering despair, he began to repeat affirmations of abundance. At first it felt strange, even false, but he persisted. Within months, he found new ideas bubbling up in his mind. He noticed possibilities where before he saw dead ends. He started small ventures, connected with new friends, discovered resources he had overlooked for years. His outer life shifted because his inner soil had changed. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between I am and I wish I was. It responds only to what you impress upon it with feeling. That's why children who hear constant criticism grow into adults battling self-doubt. They absorb it without filter. That's why people who grow up hearing encouragement often carry unshakable confidence. Their subconscious accepted those words as law. And that's why what you say to yourself before you drift into sleep matters more than most people ever realize. Picture it like programming a computer. The conscious mind is the keyboard. The subconscious is the software running beneath. Each keystroke, each phrase, each image you feed it before sleep is a command. And just like computer, the subconscious will execute that command without judgment. If you type failure, it runs failure. If you type success, it runs success. If you type wealth, it runs wealth. But unlike a machine, it doesn't stop when you shut down for the night. It keeps running, writing code, reorganizing files, shaping patterns that influence the choices you make when you wake up. So the next time you lie down and close your eyes, remember, your mind is not resting. It is listening. It is absorbing. It is creating. And the question is, what are you given to work with? Before you drift into sleep, there's a doorway that quietly opens, a fragile space where the conscious mind begins to soften and the subconscious mind begins to rise. In that moment, your thoughts become whispers to the deepest part of yourself, and those whispers can shape your future in ways most people never realize. Nighttime meditation is not simply about stillness. It is about reprogramming the mind to attract wealth, to open the channels of abundance that already surround you. Think of it like tuning a radio. All around you, countless stations are playing, but you only hear the one you are tuned into. When you meditate before sleep, you are not creating abundance out of nothing. You are tuning yourself to frequency where abundance already lives. Imagine lying down at the end of a long day. Your body aches. Your mind is noisy and worry sits heavy in your chest. Most people would reach for distraction, perhaps scrolling through their phone until exhaustion drags their eyes shut. But what if instead you closed your eyes and allowed yourself to step into a different world? A world where money flows as naturally as water, where opportunities find you like moths drawn to light, where every breath feels like an invitation to receive more. This is not fantasy. It is the language of the subconscious. And meditation is the bridge that carries those images into the soil of your inner world. Think about how habits are formed. A child doesn't become fearful of speaking up after one harsh word. It happens after repetition. The subconscious learns through repetition, through rhythm, through emotional charge. Nighttime meditation uses all three. When you lie still, breathing slowly, repeating affirmations with feeling, and allowing images of wealth to fill your inner screen, you are teaching your subconscious a new story. The conscious mind may still resist, saying this isn't real, I'm broke, nothing has changed. But the subconscious doesn't argue, it absorbs. And as it absorbs, it reshapes the way you perceive the world. Suddenly, where you once saw barriers, you notice doorways. Where you once felt unworthy, you begin to feel deserving. Let me give you an image. Picture yourself as a sculptor, standing before a massive block of stone. Every night, you take a tool in your hand. At first, the stone looks immovable, unchangeable. You strike it once, nothing seems to shift. You strike it again, only a faint line appears. But night after night, with patience you continue, and slowly shapes emerge. A face begins to appear, a form reveals itself. This is what nighttime meditation does. Each session is another strike of the tool, another chip at the stone of old beliefs, until eventually the sculpture of abundance stands clear and undeniable before you. There's a story about Jim Carrey that has been told countless times, but it remains powerful. In his early days, when he was broke and struggling, he wrote himself a check for $10 million, dated it years into the future, and kept it in his wallet. Every night, he would visualize receiving that check, see himself living the life of abundance he dreamed of. Years later, before the date on the check, he received exactly $10 million for his role in a film. Some call it luck, others coincidence, but those who understand the subconscious mind know it was alignment. His nightly ritual, his mental meditation on abundance, carved a path the subconscious followed until it became reality. This is the power of what you do before you sleep. Neuroscience even supports this. Studies show that the final thoughts before sleep linger longer in the subconscious because the brain moves into slower wave patterns, like theta and delta, which are highly suggestible states. It's the same brainwave state that hypnotherapists use to help clients release phobias or addictions. At night, without paying a dime, you have access to that state. Meditation simply guides you there with intention. So instead of planting weeds of fear, you plant flowers of prosperity. Consider someone who goes to bed with gratitude on their lips, whispering, "I am thankful for the money I already have, and I welcome more." Their subconscious drinks in that gratitude like water. And gratitude is magnetic. It draws more what you appreciate. Compare that with the person who falls asleep cursing their financial situation, repeating silently, "I'll never escape this." Both are practicing meditation, whether they realize it or not. One is meditating on abundance, the other on lack. Both seeds will grow. Which harvest would you prefer? I remember meeting a young woman at a retreat who shared how this practice changed her life. She was drowning in debt, terrified of losing her apartment, and felt trapped in a cycle she couldn't escape. Every night, her head touched the pillow, and she would replay her failures like a broken record. When she learned about nighttime meditation, she was skeptical, but desperation made her willing. So she began. Each night she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and repeated a new mantra. "I am free from debt. I am abundant. Wealth flows to me in unexpected ways." At first, it felt like lying to herself, but she kept going. After weeks, something shifted. She noticed her anxiety lessening. She began sleeping deeply. Within months, an opportunity arrived. An old friend offered her freelance work that grew into a stable career. She said, "It felt like magic, but really, it was my mind finally working for me instead of against me." That is the miracle of nighttime meditation. When you practice this consistently, your subconscious begins to act as a magnet. You'll notice small shifts, an idea for a side business, a conversation with a stranger that opens a door, a sudden inspiration to apply for something you would have ignored before. These are not coincidences. They are responses to the seeds you planted at night. It is your subconscious aligning your actions with your new identity, the identity of someone who attracts wealth instead of chasing it. The beauty of nighttime meditation is its simplicity. You don't need hours. You don't need candles or incense unless they help you focus. All you need is intention. 5 minutes before sleep. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and feed your mind with a vision of the life you want. Feel it as if it is already real. Repeat affirmations that declare abundance as yours. And then trust the process. Just as a farmer doesn't dig up his seeds to check on them every morning, you don't need to question whether it's working. You simply water the seeds nightly with faith, and in time, you watch them grow. Night after night, this ritual becomes more than meditation. It becomes a transformation. The mind you take into sleep is the mind you wake up with. And when that mind is rich with images of wealth, gratitude, and possibility, the life that follows cannot help but reflect the same. When you lie down at night and whisper words like, "I am worthy of wealth. I am open to abundance. Money flows to me with ease." You are not just speaking sentences into the air. You are opening the vault of your subconscious and placing treasures inside. Words of power. But not because of their sound alone. It is the meaning and the emotion behind them that turns them into seeds of creation. Think about how certain words spoken in childhood still echo in your mind, both the ones that lifted you and the ones that wounded you. A teacher saying, "You're smart," may have carried you through exams years later, while a parent saying, "You'll never succeed," may still whisper in your ear when you're about to try something new. That is the proof that words, once planted in the subconscious, grow roots so deep they can shape the course of a life. Affirmations spoken before sleep are like instructions to the most obedient servant you've ever had. The subconscious doesn't argue, doesn't doubt, doesn't laugh. It accepts. If you tell it, "I am unworthy," it believes you and arranges your choices to match. If you tell it, "I am abundant," it believes you just as strongly and begins to align your perception with opportunities that match abundance. The difference lies only in what you repeat. Repetition is a language of the subconscious. Think about advertising. Why do companies pay millions to repeat the same jingle or slogan over and over? Because eventually, without realizing it, you begin to believe it. You walk into a store and choose their product, not because it is better, but because your subconscious absorbed the repetition. In the same way, your nightly affirmations become a personal advertisement to your own mind, selling it on the truth of your worth and your wealth until it no longer feels foreign but familiar. Imagine lying in your bed, the lights dimmed, the world quiet. You take a slow breath and say softly, I am worthy of wealth. At first, your conscious mind may protest. It might laugh and reply, really? Look at your situation. But you say it again, I am worthy of wealth. The second time, the protest is weaker. You say it a third time, and now something shifts. The words begin to sink, not because your circumstances have changed, but because your subconscious is starting to absorb them. Night after night, this repetition reshapes your inner narrative. Where once your story was, I am always broke, I never get ahead, it transforms into, I am capable, I am deserving, I am open. There's a story of a woman who struggled financially for years. She worked hard, often 2 jobs, but somehow money always slipped through her fingers. Every night she would go to bed with the same silent phrase in her heart, I can't hold on to money. It wasn't something she consciously chose. It was the result of years of watching her parents struggle and repeat the same belief. One day, she learned about affirmations and decided to try them. At first, it felt like lying. She would say, money flows to me easily, and immediately feel a knot of resistance. But she continued. She repeated it every night before sleep. Weeks passed. Then one day, she noticed something small. She had extra money left over at the end of the week. Then she was offered a better-paying role at work. Later, she received an unexpected opportunity to start a small business. She often said later, the affirmations didn't create money directly, but they created a new me, someone who believed she could handle wealth, someone who finally felt worthy of keeping it. That is the secret. Affirmations are not spells. They are not magic words that force the universe to bend instantly. They are instructions that rewire your subconscious so that you see yourself differently. And when you see yourself differently, you act differently. A person who repeats, I am confident, will eventually begin to stand taller, speak clearer, and walk into rooms with presence. A person who repeats, I am wealthy, will eventually make choices that align with wealth, notice opportunities they once overlooked, and radiate an energy that draws abundance. It is not about forcing, it is about aligning. Think of a garden again. If you plant the seed, I am worthy of wealth every night. It may not sprout on the first morning or the second or even the 10th, but one day, without warning, you will notice a small shoot breaking the surface. Perhaps it's an idea for a side project that excites you. Perhaps it's the courage to ask for a raise. Perhaps it's the clarity to say no to a draining expense. And as you continue, the shoot grows into a plant, and the plant into a tree, and the tree into an orchard. That orchard becomes a wealth you live in, but it all started with one seed spoken before sleep. Even science gives weight to this. Dr. Bruce Lipton, a stem cell biologist, said, the subconscious mind is millions of times more powerful than the conscious mind and runs 95% of our lives. If such a force is running your life, doesn't it make sense to feed it carefully? Affirmations are the food. They are the nutrients that strengthen the roots of your beliefs. And when spoken with emotion, they sink even deeper. The subconscious doesn't respond as much to plain words. It responds to feeling. That's why when you affirm, you must say it as though it is already true, with a sense of gratitude or excitement. It's the difference between whispering, I am wealthy in monotone, and saying it with a smile, imagining the joy of financial freedom. One is empty, the other is alive. Think of children at bedtime. Many parents read them stories every night, not realizing those stories become part of the child's identity. A boy who grows up hearing, you can be anything you dream of, will carry that belief into adulthood. A girl who grows up hearing, life is always hard, will carry that. 2. Adults are no different. We are still children to our subconscious. The stories we tell ourselves at night become the scripts we act out by day. Why not choose a story that empowers you, that lifts you, that calls abundance to your side? So the next time you lay your head down and the world grows quiet, remember that your last words of the day matter. They are not wasted breath. They are keys. They unlock the door to your subconscious. And whatever you whisper in that sacred silence is heard, absorbed, and planted deep within. Over time, those affirmations do not just remain words. They become your reality, your wealth, your truth. When you close your eyes at night and begin to visualize the life you desire, you are stepping into the language of the subconscious, a language made not of logic or analysis, but of images, feelings, and senses. The subconscious doesn't think in words the way the conscious mind does. It thinks in pictures, in symbols, in emotions that bypass reason. That is why visualization deepens the effect of meditation so powerfully. It is like giving your subconscious a movie to play again and again until it believes it is real. And once it believes, it begins shaping your choices and your reality to match. Imagine yourself standing in a theater. The screen is blank. You sit down in the middle row, the lights dim, and suddenly a film begins. Except this isn't someone else's story. It's yours. You see yourself living the life you've always dreamed of. Not just money in a bank account, but the feelings money brings. The freedom to travel where you want, the peace of paying your bills without stress, the joy of giving generously to someone in need. You see yourself waking up in a home that feels like sanctuary, walking with confidence, smiling without the shadow of fear. As the film rolls, your subconscious isn't sitting back and saying, "This is fantasy." No, it's absorbing every detail, taking it as instruction, as blueprint. The more often you play that movie, the more your subconscious becomes convinced this is who you are. And once it accepts that identity, life begins to bend in that direction. There was a famous study where basketball players were divided into groups. One group physically practiced free throws every day. Another group only visualized themselves practicing, never touching a ball. At the end of the study, the players who only visualized improved almost as much as the ones who practiced on the court. Why? Because the brain doesn't fully distinguish between an experience imagined vividly and an experience lived physically. The same pathways light up, the same connections strengthen. Visualization works because the subconscious accepts imagined reality as truth, and when truth shifts on the inside, actions shift on the outside. Let me give you a personal scenario. Picture a man lying in bed at night. He has been struggling financially, bills piled on the counter, worry carved into his face. Normally, he would fall asleep replaying his stress. But tonight, he tries something different. He closes his eyes and begins to imagine himself walking into a bank, smiling as he sees his account filled. He feels the cool air of the bank lobby, hears the sound of people talking, even imagines the weight of the pen in his hand as he signs a withdrawal slip with ease. He doesn't stop at the picture. He lets the emotion wash over him, the relief, the pride, the gratitude. As he drifts into sleep, the subconscious takes hold of that image, holding it through the night like a precious photograph. Days later, he finds himself making decisions with a little more courage, speaking with a little more confidence, noticing opportunities he might have ignored before. He doesn't connect the dots at first, but the truth is, his inner movie has begun to rewrite his outer script. Athletes, performers, and creators have used this secret for decades. Muhammad Ali once said, "I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was." His constant repetition and visualization of victory made him step into the ring already believing it. Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps revealed that before races he would visualize every stroke, every turn, every outcome, down to the smallest detail. When he won gold medals, he wasn't surprised. He had already swum those races 1,000 times in his mind. The subconscious mind doesn't argue. It doesn't say, "This is just imagination." It receives the image, accepts it, and begins arranging everything to make it true. Now imagine applying that to wealth. Imagine closing your eyes and seeing yourself sitting at a desk signing a contract that brings abundance, or receiving a message that says your investment has multiplied, or holding the keys to a home you once thought was impossible. Feel the texture of the keys in your palm. Smell the paint of the walls. Hear the laughter of your loved ones filling the rooms. The more senses you involve, the more real it becomes to the subconscious. And the more real it becomes to the subconscious, the faster it begins to shift your identity. And your identity is the magnet that pulls in reality. Visualization is not about escaping into fantasy. It is about practicing reality before it arrives. It is rehearsal, just as a dancer practices the steps before stepping on stage. You practice wealth in your mind before you step into it in life. And something incredible happens. When you've already lived it 100 times in your imagination, fear loses its grip. Opportunities that once scared you suddenly feel familiar, because you've already walked that path inside. You meet abundance like an old friend, not a stranger. I once met a man at a workshop who used visualization to change everything. He had grown up poor, and every time he thought of money, he felt fear and shame. But when he learned about nighttime visualization, he began each evening by imagining himself walking confidently into rooms of wealthy people, shaking hands, speaking with ease. He saw himself wearing a tailored suit, speaking with authority, sharing his ideas and being respected. At first, it felt ridiculous. But night after night, he continued. Months later, he started attending networking events. The man who once felt invisible now stood tall, speaking with confidence. Within a year, he landed partnerships that transformed his finances. He said, "When I walked into those rooms, it wasn't new anymore. I had been there every night in my imagination. My subconscious had already taught me how to belong." There's a saying, the body goes where the mind has already been. This is the essence of visualization. When you meditate at night and see yourself wealthy, successful, abundant, your subconscious doesn't dismiss it as fantasy. It takes it as practice. Then, when opportunities appear, you don't freeze, you flow, because your inner world has already rehearsed this reality. So tonight, when you lay down to sleep, don't let your last images be of worry, debt, or lack. Choose differently. Close your eyes and create a movie worth living. See yourself abundant, free, giving, thriving. Let your heart swell with the emotions of that life until you fall asleep drenched in gratitude. Because what you see inside long enough, you will one day hold in your hands. Wealth is often imagined as something complicated, as if it requires endless formulas, strategies, or luck to appear. But the truth is far simpler, and it mirrors the most ancient process we know, planting a seed. Meditation before sleep is the planting. Belief is the water. Action is the sunshine. Without all three, the harvest cannot come. This idea may sound poetic, but think about it for a moment. What happens when a farmer places a seed into the soil? He doesn't expect fruit the next morning. He doesn't hover over the ground in panic, digging it up to see if it has sprouted. He trusts the invisible process. He waters it faithfully. He lets the sun do its work. And in time, though unseen at first, the seed breaks open, roots dig deep, and life begins to rise. Your subconscious mind is the soil. Every thought you impress upon it, especially before sleep, is a seed. If you feed it fear, doubt, or scarcity, those too will grow. But if you feed it wealth, worthiness, and abundance, then that is what takes root. The challenge for most people is that they do not trust the process. They plant a seed of abundance one night with meditation. Then the next day, they dig it up with doubt. They whisper affirmations at bedtime, but in the morning they curse their reality. Imagine a farmer who planted a field of wheat and then stomped over the soil in frustration every day, shouting that nothing was growing. Would that field flourish? Of course not. Yet we do this to our minds without realizing it. Belief is the water. Without belief, affirmations dry up. Without belief, visualization becomes fantasy. But belief is not about forcing yourself to never feel doubt. It is about holding a steady trust that the process works even if you cannot yet see it. Faith is invisible, yet it feeds the roots beneath the soil. Think of a child learning to walk. The parents do not give up after the first stumble. They trust that with each attempt, the child is getting stronger, even if the progress is not obvious. Belief in meditation works the same way. Each night you are strengthening roots beneath the surface, building a foundation that one day will break through into the visible world. Action is the sunshine. A seed may be planted and watered, but without the warmth of the sun it cannot grow tall. In the same way, meditation and belief prepare the ground, but action brings your subconscious instructions into the world. If you meditate on wealth at night and believe it is possible, you'll begin to feel nudges during the day. An idea flashes in your mind. A conversation pulls at your attention, an opportunity whispers. These are the rays of sunshine, and you must act on them. Too often, people meditate but ignore the subtle pushes of their intuition. They expect money to fall from the sky, forgetting that wealth flows through doors, not walls. Meditation plants the door in your path. Belief allows you to see it, but action is what makes you open it. There was once a man who dreamed of starting his own business. Every night, he meditated on abundance, pictured himself free from the 9-to-5 grind, imagining the joy of working for himself. He watered that vision with belief, refusing to let doubt destroy it. Then, one day, while talking with a friend, he felt the urge to mention his idea. The friend introduced him to someone who became his first investor. That was action. Without action, his seed would have remained in the ground. With action, it grew into a thriving company. He often said, "The vision came at night, but the courage came in the morning." Even nature teaches us this. Look at a tree. Beneath the surface, roots stretch in faith before a single leaf ever appears. They grow unseen, drawing water and preparing for strength. Only later does the trunk emerge, then the branches, then the fruit. When you meditate before sleep, you are nurturing invisible roots. The fact that you cannot see them does not mean nothing is happening. In fact, the most important work is done where no eye can see. But belief must remain steady, for doubt is like drought. It dries the soil and starves the seed. Action, then, is the sunlight reaching down, calling the roots upward, urging the plant to rise. There's a story about a woman who meditated every night on becoming debt-free. She imagined herself writing the last check, seeing a zero balance, feeling light and free. She watered it with belief, refusing to let fear dominate her thoughts when bills arrived. Then came the moment of sunshine, an idea to sell her handmade crafts online. She could have dismissed it, thinking it was too small, but she chose to act. That small step grew into a business that not only cleared her debts, but gave her financial independence. She often said later, "The seed was planted in my dreams, but I had to walk into the sun to see it grow." Meditation without belief is like planting without watering. The seed dries out. Belief without action is like watering a seed in a cave. It never feels the sun. And action without meditation is like scattering seeds on hard rock. Effort is wasted because the ground is not prepared. But when all three align, something extraordinary happens. The seed bursts open, roots deepen, and life takes shape. Wealth is not created overnight. It is grown, nurtured, cultivated in the soil of your subconscious, sustained by the water of belief, and drawn upward by the light of action. This is why it is so important not to give up when you cannot yet see results. Farmers know that growth takes time. They do not run into their fields after 2 days, shouting that nothing has sprouted, and abandon the crop. They trust the unseen. You must do the same with your subconscious. Night after night, plant wealth through meditation. Day after day, water it with belief. And when the sun of opportunity rises, step into it with action. Even the great inventor Thomas Edison was asked once how he endured thousands of failed experiments before creating the light bulb. He replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is belief. He planted the seed of his vision, watered it with trust, and acted relentlessly. And in the end, he gave light to the world. If such persistence can bring literal light into darkness, imagine what your persistence with meditation, belief, and action can bring into your life. So the next time you close your eyes at night, remember, you are holding a seed in your hand. What you choose to plant will grow. Water it with belief, and it will stay alive. Act when the sunshine of opportunity falls upon it, and it will bear fruit. Wealth is not a mystery. It is a harvest, and your subconscious mind is the most fertile soil you will ever know. Imagine lying in bed at night, the room quiet, the lights dim, and the only sound is the rhythm of your breath. In that moment, you are stepping into a space where the conscious mind loosens its grip, and the subconscious rises to the surface, open and waiting. Most people don't realize how powerful this nightly ritual can be. They rush into sleep carrying stress, worry, and replaying the chaos of the day, not knowing that these are the seeds they are planting in their subconscious garden. But what if you ended your day differently? What if instead of drifting off with fear, You drifted off with the energy of abundance, gratitude, and wealth. Night after night, those thoughts would not just disappear. They would root themselves deep within you and shape the way life responds to you. The mind before sleep is like clay, soft, impressionable, ready to be molded. A sculptor does not need to force clay into shape when it's soft. He simply guides it with gentle, steady hands. The same is true with your thoughts. Before sleep, your mind is pliable, and every word, every image, every feeling you focus on becomes a mold for your future. This is why ancient traditions, from monks in temples to sages in deserts, emphasize the last thoughts before sleep as sacred. They knew what science now confirms, that the brain, in those twilight moments, enters states that allow deep impressions to be made, impressions that bypass resistance and go straight to the subconscious. Think of it like programming a computer. During the day, your conscious mind acts like a gatekeeper, questioning, doubting, analyzing, often blocking what you try to input. But at night, as you drift into sleep, that gatekeeper grows tired and steps aside. Now the subconscious is unguarded, wide open, receiving the codes you install. The question is, what are you coding? Are you feeding it scarcity, fear, and I can't? Or are you feeding it abundance, trust, and I am worthy? Because whatever you plan at that moment does not vanish. It runs as a background program, influencing your decisions, your emotions, and the opportunities you allow yourself to see. There's a story of a man who struggled financially for years. He always ended his days the same way, scrolling through bills, worrying about deadlines, muttering, "I'll never get ahead." Night after night, that became his mantra, and without realizing it, he was programming failure into his subconscious. One day, out of desperation, he decided to change. Instead of focusing on debt, he began focusing on gratitude before sleep. He thanked life for the small things, a warm meal, a roof overhead, even the comfort of his bed. He then imagined money flowing to him easily. Picture himself receiving checks in the mail, clients call with opportunities, doors opening. At first, nothing seemed to change. But after a few weeks, he noticed shifts. A new job offer appeared. An old debt was unexpectedly forgiven. Ideas for extra income came to him in dreams. He later said, "The money didn't just appear overnight. I changed my nightly story, and my life followed the script." Gratitude is a language that unlocks wealth while you sleep. When you end the day by focusing on what you already have, no matter how small, you send a signal of sufficiency to the subconscious. That signal then radiates outward, attracting more reasons to feel abundant. It is like telling the soil, "This ground is fertile. Give me more." And the soil responds. On the other hand, ending your day with complaints or fear tells the soil, "This ground is barren," and it produces accordingly. Visualization is another powerful tool. Athletes use it to win games. Musicians perform flawlessly, and visionaries to build empires. Why? Because the mind does not distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is real. If you picture yourself wealthy as you drift to sleep, with details so rich you can feel the fabric of your clothes, smell the leather of your new car, taste a celebration dinner with loved ones, your subconscious accepts it as truth. And what is accepted as truth internally begins to show up externally. A famous quote says, "As within, so without." That is not just philosophy. It is practice. Consider the example of a woman who dreamed of being financially free. Every night before sleep, she played a mental movie. In it, she walked into her bank, saw her account overflowing, smiled with relief, and then called her family to share the good news. She rehearsed this scene nightly, sometimes even falling asleep mid-visualization. Within months, she received a promotion at work, then a side business opportunity that multiplied her income. Looking back, she said, "I felt like I had already lived the moment. So when it arrived, it was only natural." That is the power of programming wealth into your subconscious before sleep. But here's the subtle truth. This isn't about greed or desperate grasping. It's about alignment. Wealth is not just money. It is freedom, peace of mind, opportunities, and the ability to give generously. When you align your subconscious with the energy of abundance, money flows as a reflection of that alignment. Sleep becomes not just rest, but a sacred workshop where dreams are carved into reality. Even scientists recognize the power of sleep on the subconscious. Studies on hypnagogic states, the border between wakefulness and sleep, show that suggestions given during this time bypass conscious resistance and settle deep within. Thomas Edison knew this. He would hold a metal ball in his hand as he drifted into light sleep. The moment he fully let go and the ball dropped, the sound would wake him, and he would capture the ideas bubbling up from his subconscious. These flashes led to many of his greatest inventions. Imagine what you could capture if you ended your day feeding your subconscious wealth, creativity, and possibility instead of worry. Of course, doubt will whisper. Some nights, fear will knock louder than faith. But that is when consistency matters. Just as a river carves valleys not by force but by persistence, so too does meditation before sleep carve pathways in your subconscious. One night may not change everything, but many nights in rhythm will reshape the landscape of your mind. And when the landscape shifts inside, the world outside mirrors it. So picture this tonight. You close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the weight of the day fall away. You whisper to yourself, I am abundant. I am worthy. Wealth flows to me easily. You see yourself living in comfort, giving freely, celebrating with joy. You feel gratitude as if it has already happened. And then, as sleep takes you, your subconscious accepts it as reality. Tomorrow, without even realizing it, you make decisions aligned with that wealth. You notice opportunities you would have ignored before. You carry yourself with confidence, attracting people and circumstances that match your inner story. That is how wealth while you sleep is not just a dream. It is a practice, a quiet ritual that builds a different tomorrow. Every night, you stand at a door. One path leads to replaying fears, doubts, and limitations. The other leads to planting visions of abundance, gratitude, and wealth. You decide which door to walk through. The beautiful thing is, no matter how many nights you've chosen fear before, tonight you can choose differently. And if you choose consistently, night after night, the life you imagine will no longer just exist in your mind. It will rise into your waking reality like the dawn after a long night. Tonight is not just another night. Tonight is an invitation. An invitation to stop replaying fear, to stop rehearsing scarcity, to stop carrying yesterday's weight into tomorrow's promise. Tonight is a doorway where you choose which seed you will plant, which story you will write, which life you will step into. Close your eyes with intention. Breathe with faith. See yourself already abundant, already free, already living the life you desire. Do it not someday, but tonight. Do it not halfway, but with all your heart, because every night matters. Every thought matters. Every seed matters. The subconscious does not sleep. It listens, it records, it obeys. What you whisper tonight becomes the shout of your tomorrow. So I ask you, what will you choose? Will you choose lack, or will you choose abundance? Will you choose fear, or will you choose faith? Will you choose the same story, or will you dare to write a new one? Do not wait for the perfect moment. This is the moment. Do not wait for signs to appear. You are the sign. Do not wait for tomorrow to begin, because tomorrow begins tonight. Let this be your declaration. I plant abundance. I water it with belief. I shine it with action. I harvest wealth. Say it, feel it, believe it. And when you close your eyes tonight, remember this. Wealth does not start in your bank account. Wealth starts in your mind. Plan it wisely. Grow it faithfully. Live it fully. The dream is waiting. The only question is, will you dream it on purpose? Your support means everything. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember this. Wealth doesn't come to you while you wait. It comes to you while you dream it, believe it, and act on it starting tonight. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.